I welcome you all to this orientation session about RBI Grade B DEPR exam of 2025. The notification of this exam is just about to come. So in this orientation session, I will be basically discussing what will be the approach and how in this short time span we can prepare for phase 1 as well as for phase 2, because the timing gap between phase 1 and phase 2 is just about 40-45 days, I will say, at the maximum. And generally the RBI notification does not give you enough time before your phase 1 exam also. So don't wait for this notification to be out. It will be coming soon in the month of, I think, July first week or at the maximum second week. So first of all, I will explain the syllabus part of it, the cutoff, how much you should be aiming for, what were the cutoff of the last year. Although for 2024 the official cutoff is not published yet, it is not available on the official site. So we'll refer to the cutoff of 2023 and the syllabus part of it. Now other thing is that we have some memory based question, because RBI is not providing you the question paper. So the phase 1 pattern, phase 2 pattern, what other tentative topic which is important for RBI Grade B DPR. So I will be discussing all those things in about, I think, 40 to 45 minutes that can be taken. So first thing is about this examination is that this format of the exam is that it will be in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 will be 100 marks economics and 100 marks English. English आपको कीपैड पे टाइप करना है. So 100 marks economics objective pattern. The question paper will be divided into two sections. Section A about 30 question 1 mark each, and section B 35 question 2 mark each. So 100 marks phase 1 objective question and 100 marks for the English. Then phase 2 is both paper descriptive, paper 1 as well as paper 2. First paper will have two parts, micro module and macro module, and second paper again will have two parts. One is the mathematical parts and second is the Indian economy part. You can just refer to this part, the pattern for examination. First phase is objective type. क्या लिखेंगे, 2 घंटे का एग्जाम है, 100 marks this, and English descriptive to be typed with the help of keyboard, 2 hours, 100 marks. So phase 1 is basically 200 marks. In 2023 the cutoff was 112, that is 56% out of 200, 112 for the general category. But ये एक deceptive in the sense that if you just clear phase 1 you have very little chance to get qualified, because phase 2 का cutoff further increase हो जाएगा. So phase 1 cutoff is basically 56% and phase 2 cutoff it will going from 56 to 64. I will show the cutoff of and what will be your study, but just complete this section part first. Phase 1 200 marks. The previous year 2023 cutoff for this phase 1 was 112 for general category. Second phase, both paper are descriptive, paper 1 as well as paper 2, both on economics. Second paper is all about maths 1 module and Indian economy second module. This paper micro 1 module and macro 1 module. So they will call it micro module, but that will include international economics and all concepts related to the micro. Then macro module will be including basically the growth and development, international, the balance of payment part, and so on. Syllabus for phase 1 and phase 2, if you see the pattern, दोनों में content same है. For phase 1, just like you can note this micro, consumer demand, production, market structure, distribution, welfare. 5 parts are there in micro. Just see what is written in phase 2. I will come to this. Phase 2, paper 1, micro module, consumer 3, production, market, distribution, welfare. Whether you see the syllabus of phase 1 or whether you see the syllabus of phase 2, in both the content is the same. The way to prepare will be different. In phase 1 the focus will be basically on the short numerical question, applied question. In phase 2 it will be more descriptive, because the nature is descriptive type. So if you have to explain the, let us say a basic question, explain consumer equilibrium by using the indifference curve approach. ये क्वेश्चन इट विल अपीयर इट इज अ टू स्टेट फॉर क्वेश्चन एक्सटेंड कंज्यूमर इनकम विद हेल्प ऑफ इंडिफरेंस का ये क्वेश्चन आ रखा है इनफैक्ट. बट व्हेन यू आंसर द क्वेश्चन only if a student is writing that okay, consumer equilibrium is that where budget line is tangent on the indifference curve, MRS is equal to the price ratio, that will not fetch you more marks. We have to basically explain the reasoning behind it. Why MRS equal to price ratio will be maximizing the utility. If they are not equal, what will happen? Second, is tangency always a necessary condition for optimal choice? Obviously, the answer is no. Tangency is not a necessary condition for optimal choice. Then substantiate by giving various cases. Perfect complement का केस है, perfect substitute का कंडीशन है, concave function का केस है, maximum का केस है. उन सारे केस में MRS is not equal to price ratio. That means tangency is not necessary. Although question will appear straight, but you have to present it in a, because ये specialized exam, so only elementary information will be enough. So you have to explain that part, but you have to, since it is a descriptive question, 10 mark or 20 mark question, okay, you need to elaborate and explain some question from all different angles. So paper 1, the syllabus part is basically same, phase 1 and phase 2. In the second topic is written as macroeconomics, theories of employment, output, monetary economics, ISLM model, schools of economics, neoclassical, new Keynesian. But main question will be on the ISLM topic and from the classical model. Then international economics, all theories, starting from the Guardian model, the HO model, specific factor model, standard trade model, new trade theories. So in terms of the content of RBI DPR and the content of Indian Economic Service is in fact same. RBI content, but what about format? There are 4 different paper of economics. Here we are dealing with basically 2 paper. But in terms of the content, if you see the content of general economics, 1 paper in economic service, micro and the 5 topic likhe hai: consumer demand, production, theory of value, distribution and welfare. And here also it is written in the specific. So international and international development, public finance, environmental economics, quantitative methods in economics, current developments of the Indian economy, growth, inflation, poverty, unemployment. It will simply write sector by description, industry, services, agriculture, but you have to put everything in the agriculture. Agriculture growth, agriculture performance, agriculture price policy, agriculture marketing, food management. You must be familiar with all. So in phase 1, the question will be basically, since it is MCQ, तो क्वेश्चन का पॉसिबल है कि लास्ट बजट में इन्फॉर्मेशन दिया गया है या आरबीआई बुलेटिन अकॉर्डिंग जो चेंजेस हैं उसमें मेजर फीचर्स क्या क्या है, या लास्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी की मीटिंग है उसमें रिवाइज चेंजेस क्या क्या हुए. तो यू हैव टू बी फेमिलियर विद द करंट डायमेंशन ऑफ, बट हियर द फोकस विल बी ऑन objective, and then you will be getting same thing from the descriptive point of view. Your approach will be different. You will take care of the objective part as well as the subjective part. Now content wise, phase 1, phase 2 English, phase 1 English, second phase का content वही है, इसलिए इसको separately show करने की जरूरत नहीं है. मैक्रो मॉडल के content वही है. Now first go by the cutoff part because that is a very important information. ठीक है, ये आरबीआई के साइट पे अवेलेबल है फॉर द ईयर 2023, for the year 2023. Let's say this and try to understand what we're basically aiming for and how much is expected. The cutoff for 2020 was 112 category, 112, that is a 56% cutoff for phase 1. 56% cutoff है phase 1 के लिए. Then phase 2 that's taken paper phase 1 phase 2 both. ये out of 200 हो गया, this is out of 400. So out of 400 to 54, so about 64%. और सपोज किसी ने जस्ट फेज 1 क्लियर किया, क्लियर कर रखा है, 112 नंबर यहाँ आ गए. अब ये रिक्वायरमेंट है 254 के लिए. अब 254 का मतलब क्या, अबाउट 141 चाहिए आपको. सेकंड फेज दैट मींस मोर देन 70%, बट बिकॉज़ डिफिकल्ट यू नीड्स मोर देन 70% इफ यू जस्ट क्वालीफाई. फेज 1 में अगर आप जस्ट क्वालीफाई करेंगे देन यू नीड मोर देन 70% इन द सेकंड फेज व्हिच इज डिफिकल्ट टू स्कोर. सेकंड फेज में आपको 70% से ज्यादा चाहिए. एंड इट इज क्लियर हियर. Suppose you get 254, but the final is 322 for final selection. So 322 final selection के लिए in that case you have to score 68 out of 75 in the interview. Repeat, 68 out of 75 in interview again becomes very difficult. So if you are just sitting on the cutoff, it is very difficult. That means you have to score much higher than the cutoff. Qualifying is not difficult. If you are just qualifying, just meeting the cutoff, it is not good enough. Your score in phase 1 in the range of, I will say, 135, 140. 135, 140, that means 140 का एम एटलीस्ट लेके चलना. 140 to 150, and that is not very difficult because the nature of question is such that if you go by the question paper, first of all it is objective pattern, so you can score more, although negative marking you have to avoid it also, you have to qualify it also, but मुझे रिस्क भी थोड़ा लेना होगा बिकॉज जस्ट कट ऑफ अगर मीट कर रहे हैं तो इट इज बिकमिंग वेरी डिफिकल्ट. तो योर स्कोर इन दिस पेपर, particularly the economics paper, should be in the range of, I will say, out of 175 to 80, but 75 to 80 with negative marking is very difficult. So this is basically a high scoring exam. Overall cutoff is about 68%, 67-68% ओवरऑल मार्किंग कट ऑफ है. और ये कट ऑफ याद रखिएगा ये इंक्रीज हो रहा है. फेज 1 56, फेज 2 64, फाइनली 68. तो फेज 1 में मुझे मैक्सिमाइज करके रखना 140 150. अगर मैं यहाँ स्कोर कर रहा हूँ, यू आर स्कोरिंग अबाउट 150 इन फेज 1 and 130 to 140 again in phase 2, because in some paper it could be 60s में मार्क्स आ गए. तो 130 140 का स्कोर अगर फेज 2 के अंदर है एंड इंटरव्यू अबाउट 50 to 55 और 50 to 60, देन योर स्कोर ऑफ अबाउट 325 to 335 के बीच का स्कोर होता है. आई रिपीट, फेज 1 अबाउट 145 150, but for that purpose you have to score about 80 in 75 to 80 in economics paper and a decent in English. Decent means about 65 60 65 or 60 to 70 के रेंज में. So a score of about 150 145 150 in phase 1, then phase 2 about we can say 10 to 15 marks कम हो सकते हैं descriptive nature की वजह से, so about 130 to 140, and interview about 50 to 60. Generally they are lenient in interview also. So a score of about 50 to 60 is achievable. In that way you can land up with in the range of 325 to 335. So if the number of seats remains same, then a score of about 67-68% is good enough to be in the list. So that is what you should be aiming for. But having said that, you have to score about 75-80 in economics paper in phase 1. That can happen only if you have practiced it a lot. For that purpose we are basically coming with phase 1 specific classes about I will say roughly 50 lecture for phase 1, only focus on the objective pattern, only focus on the objective part of it. So we will take the descriptive part separately, but objective part, for that only objective part about 50 lecture, combining for micro, macro, international, growth and development. See, there are some topic जो they are asking in the phase 1 but they are not asking in phase 2. Like अगर सोलो मॉडल का न्यूमेरिकल उन्होंने फेज 1 में पूछ रखा है तो डिस्क्रिप्शन का पार्ट किसी और ग्रोथ मॉडल का पूछ लेंगे इन सेकंड पेपर. ISLM का अगर न्यूमेरिकल पूछ रखा है फेज 1 के अंदर, so generally they will not ask numerical of ISLM in descriptive paper. They will ask crowding out concept or monetary transmission mechanism concept, when it will be effective, when it will not be effective. So those things. So I think this cutoff is clear. Now come back to the content part of it. Now the content part focusing on this phase 1. So 8 subtopics are there. For 8 subtopic including the Indian economy and the mathematical part. So core economics part we can say the above 6, including micro, macro, international, growth and development, public finance, environmental economics. तो यहाँ से objective के question separate करने हैं, and that will be about we can say exclusively 50 to 60 lecture for this phase 1 based upon MCQ. So what we will be doing actually is that about in every lecture we will take up a problem set of 20 odd questions, and those questions will be discussed and you have to solve in the class itself. So even if you take 20 questions for 50 days, so 1000 question वो हो जाते हैं. So 1000 objective based question will be enough. And for the Indian economy part, again because last 2 years से अगर आप क्वेश्चन पेपर को एनालाइज करें, देन फ्रॉम द लास्ट 2 years दे आर आस्किंग more and more क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम इंडियन इकोनॉमी सेक्शन. For the Indian economy section, we will be having a separate number of questions separate. Like बजट की जितनी भी डिटेल है, फीचर्स है, जितने भी गवर्नमेंट प्रोग्राम है, आरबीआई की जितनी भी पॉलिसीज है, what are the different features and what type of objective question can be created out of it. Like for example, I will say the paper of last year we have conducted this test. So we will take up the current dimension, like according to the union budget 2024-25, which of the following statement is correct. So you may be knowing the concept of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, what is effective revenue deficit, but you don't know the number. और यहाँ पे वो फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन पूछ रहे हैं. अगेन जैसे 24-25 के लिए, सिमिलरली फॉर द बजट 2025-26 देयर आर वेरियस फीचर्स और important aspect announced in the budget, so you have to be familiar with all those topics. So we will take into account the current part of it as well as the static part of it. 65 question है, try करना है कि you have to attempt in fact all, because if I am saying that your aim should be to score about 80, so naturally you have to take the maximum, that means attempt the maximum, or it is not very difficult because most of the question will be knowing. What you have to avoid basically is the error avoid करना है कि mistake हो गया, because तरीके के high score एग्जाम में you cannot afford that. जहाँ स्कोर कट ऑफ कम होता है वहाँ पे वो स्कोप रहता है. लाइक इकोनॉमिक सर्विस का ओवरऑल कट ऑफ अगर 41-42% है, इट गिव्स यू स्कोप कि अच्छा कोई क्वेश्चन में से गलत हो गया ना यार मैंने नहीं लिखा. बट आरबीआई में जहाँ पे कट ऑफ हायर है, यू डोंट हैव दैट स्कोप. So try to minimize that error. You can minimize it provided you have practiced it a lot. But still, out of 65, 1 or 2 question could be difficult. So be prepared for that part. But we have to prepare in a balanced manner. For micro, for macro, that जितने भी section है plus Indian economy के question वो ज़्यादा पूछ रहे हैं. So we should be prepared for that. But it does not mean कि past year का जो question है वो future के लिए necessarily हो. It could be maybe the current year paper may be focusing more on the other aspect rather than on the Indian economy part. So the schedule for, apart from the lecture, there will be a test series, and I will just show some. We have some memory based question paper here. Of last few, just you can relate it because ये question available नहीं होते. Given the demand function and cost function, find out monopolist profit maximizing output. What would change if it set the price? तो कोई function given होगा वहां से calculate करना. Does there exist supply curve for the monopolist? Obviously supply curve does not exist for the monopolist. Discuss the ideas behind Marxian distribution theory, compare with the Ricardo. Demand function given है यहाँ पे, और you have to calculate सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट एंड इनकम इफेक्ट. अब ये क्वेश्चन अगर आप देखो तो ये क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली वेरिएंट में टेक्स्ट बुक के अंदर गिवन है और सॉल्व है वो सॉल्व एग्जांपल को डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चन में पूछा गया. सेम फंक्शन विदाउट एनी चेंज. सेक्शन बी, टेलर रूल, इम्प्लीकेशन एंड रेलेवेंस ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन टारगेटिंग ऑब्जेक्टिव. सो डिस्क्रिप्टिव है, to explain all things related to the Taylor rule. What is interest rate targeting, how you can apply that Taylor rule to design the policy. Ability to pay and benefit principle, public finance से उसका compare करना है merit और demerit. Transmission mechanism, again from the monetary policy. Ricardian equivalence from the public finance. We have done this. Difference between Bayesian and frequentist approach and some subpart about the Bayesian. Okay, that will be a difficult question for you. Given two trend regression, one linear and one quadratic, which one will you choose when, how to detect? Last year अब ये question आया था. This is a question for 2024. Box Jenkins methodology. अब this question is again to be left out, I will say. सारे क्वेश्चन आपको नहीं करने, यू विल हैव अ चॉइस. बट ऐसे ओकेजनली एक दो क्वेश्चन मिलेंगे आपको पेपर में, जस्ट टू वी कैन से डिस्टर्ब द स्टूडेंट. तो देयर विल बी सम क्वेश्चन बट डोंट गो फॉर दोज क्वेश्चन कि ऐसे सारे क्वेश्चन आपको मालूम हो जाए, बिकॉज दे विल बी आस्किंग सम न्यू क्वेश्चन. बट यू द पेपर पैटर्न स्मार्टली. कितने क्वेश्चन आपको करने हैं. सेक्शन phase 2 will be giving you the option, because paper will be divided into two sections and in every section you have to choose certain number of questions. Given the marginal cost and marginal revenue, find the total cost and the profit function. So I have just given you some sample so that you can relate, like Indian economy, RBI policies to aid growth and financial stability post pandemic. Fiscal multiplier, what are they and their relevance. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, their genesis, provision and success and challenges. Net zero emission report of 2024. So this is part of the Indian economy section. So if you see the question paper will be having some balance between the current and the dynamic part. So Indian economy is one section. If you are more comfortable in the Indian economy, choose more questions from the Indian economy and less from the first part, numerical one. If you are more comfortable in the numerical one, choose more questions from there and choose less questions from the Indian economy section. So that is up to the student. So this was basically some sample based question for like this previous year 2000. This was for 2024. This is for 2023. Explain consumer equilibrium through indifference curve analysis. What happens to equilibrium when income and price changes? तो ये क्वेश्चन आप किसी स्टूडेंट से भी कहेंगे ओके दिस इज अ वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, बट क्वेश्चन इज इजी, बट आउट ऑफ 20 वी हैव टू गेट अबाउट 15 मार्क्स. वो प्रॉब्लम है. हाउ एंड व्हाट यू विल राइट so that out of 20 you will get 15 marks in this type of straight question. So explain the consumer equilibrium. You have to elaborate that consumer equilibrium. Why MRS equal to price ratio is required. If they are not equal, then what will happen? Write down the assumptions of the consumer equilibrium. Then specify when tangency is not required, substantiated by giving different cases. Concave function हो गया, substitute है, complement है, maximum है. Then only out of these 20 question you can expect about 14 or 15 marks. So although question will appear easy, but you have to explain in a detailed manner. Explain producer equilibrium using the isocont. एक consumer equilibrium के लिए हो गया, एक producer equilibrium के लिए. Arrow's impossibility theorem. So question is basically for the 20 marks. Arrow's impossibility मतलब you have to explain all the welfare criteria first. Meaning in that context explain the Arrow's impossibility theorem. जो 5 condition specify कर रखे हैं Arrow ने, वो पहले बताने हैं. Short-run and long-run equilibrium of the monopolistic competition, and also explain wastage associated with the monopolistic competition, that is excess capacity question. So short-run or long-run. The purpose of showing this question is that you must get to know that these type of question you have to write in the examination. And obviously this is not an exact question, this is a memory based question, but I think it is authentic. ADS equilibrium and explain how Keynesian AS differs from the classical AS. So complete macro जब तक आप नहीं पढ़ते तब तक these type of question you cannot answer. So this is all about the question paper pattern. Now come to the course content part. So in terms of the course content, what we are planning is this fast track course will be basically it will be basically a hybrid course. In the sense it will be in the form of online live session plus some recorded lectures, so that we can complete the content within the stipulated period, because time for this year is less. If you are preparing for the next year 2026, you have plenty of time, but for this year the time is less. So without compromising the content. It's not that fast है course है तो हमने कोई crash course कर रखा है उसमें कोई short content में explain कर रखा. No, we are dealing with the full content, but we are able to do it in a short period because we are combining the live session with some pre-record. We will try to have maximum the current lecture, that is online live. If you are attending offline here, no problem. But obviously the fast track course में जितने भी स्टूडेंट होंगे उनके पास ऑनलाइन का एक्सेस होगा, because we are giving you some pre-recorded lecture as well. Now what will be provided in the online live lecture? Certainly phase 1, I said phase 1 MCQ, about 50 plus lecture. That will be the new lecture. That means you can see it live as well as in the recorded form. So this will be starting from, the course is starting from 1st of July, but this objective based question will be starting from 4th of July. Then we will try to complete the important one like micro, within micro the market structure question, because most of the questions related are coming from the market structure. We'll try to have micro market structure question in a current or new lecture will be there. We will try to cover the macro also, classical ISLM. In fact, for money and finance as well, for international economics. We will try for growth and development, but if there will be a time constraint, we can take that in the pre-recorded format also. But what will be provided to in the pre-recorded format for this year exam will be the content of static part of the Indian economy. Dynamic part we can take in the current one because उसे मैं recent include करना है. But the static part of it like agriculture, growth record, green devolution, land reform, वो सारे content है because that syllabus is saying only agriculture. So you have to cover all. Industry है तो उसमें public sector role, problems, disinvestment. Public finance, the finance commission recommendation, 73rd 74th constitution amendment provision. So those static part will be covered, so we will be taking that part. Then some static, obviously pre-recorded format, you can take the environmental economics, we can take up there. The basic on the part of the mathematical section, econometrics, one part is basically this objective, so वो current हो जाएगा. But the other part, so we'll try to have a combination of online live and some pre-recorded so that within time frame वो content complete हो जाए. That means July, August, I will say you have July, August month. If they follow the last year pattern, last year RBI DEPR phase 1 exam was I think on 14th of September. So assuming that it happens in second week, so you have complete July and August. So you have 2 months. So naturally in that 2 months will be covering this part and simultaneously this. ये content भी होंगे. So in a week, more than I will say at least 10 lecture. It could be more than 10, but it will be at least 10 lecture. Okay, 10 lecture in this part. And later on we'll be uploading with the, once the notification will come, and if we find that the gap between phase 1 and phase 2 is less, in that case we'll be starting uploading the pre-recorded, but that will happen later on. Initially it will be basically you are getting the live session, new one. Clear? So this is basically an hybrid course for online live and the pre-recorded. Second thing, so I think this entire content will be stretched to 250 plus number of lecture because content is wide. So 250 plus number of lecture. Second part will be the test series. So in that test series category, we have a series of 13 tests starting from 6th of July. Starting from 6th of July, then 20th, 27th, 10th, so stays to 14th. Now if the notification comes, और अगर ये एग्जामिनेशन आपका पहले है, then we will change this schedule, but it will start from this 6th. We will go as per the schedule if the phase 1 exam is after 14th of September, but if the phase 1 exam is before, then we have gap here, we can use it or change it. So out of this you can find a one paper for this English, and this is English, and then 1 2 3 4 5 for economics, 5 for economics and 2 for English in that phase 1, but 7 tests. And phase 2 it will be once phase 1 exam will be over, then it will be phase 2. Phase 2 can the 6 tests only. Both paper will have 3 tests each. That is good enough. Clear? So I think I have explained all about the course content, syllabus, cutoff for this pattern of exam. Clear? So at the end, again, just briefly, the paper, the examination pattern of phase 1, phase 2, focus on phase 1 more, maximize phase 1, because only then you have a chance to be in the list. Just कट ऑफ मीट करने से नहीं हो रहा, तो मुझे फेज 1 को मैक्सिमाइज करना है और फेज 2 को बैलेंस रखना है. फेज 2 को बैलेंस का मतलब है coverage, number of question they are asking less, but the coverage should be very wide, because if they are asking less question from a wide content तो रिस्क बढ़ जाता है, because हमने कोई सेक्शन छोड़ दिया और वहां से क्वेश्चन आ गया. तो फेज 1 को आपको मैक्सिमाइज करना है, फेज 2 को बैलेंस आउट करना है. तो स्कोर ऑफ अबाउट 140 150 in phase 1, 130 140 in phase 2, and a decent of 55 60 50 to 60 in interview stage. Clear? I think I have explained all in this orientation. The batch is starting from tomorrow. If you have any query related to the course content or for admission, you can call on these two numbers. Clear? So thanks for watching this.